in this class we'll discuss about what do you mean by verb. So let us discuss this in this detail. So the concept of a verb generally, simply definition is basically a verb is an action that is performed on any object. So that is a very simple definition, but we need to look at for examination point of view in a very versatile manner. So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to look at this topic in detail here in this video. So if you look at the definition point of view here, so you can say that a verb is a word that expresses an action, an occurrence, or a state of being. Okay, it's a very simple definition, or a state of being, right? So let us look at the definition again. A verb is a word that expresses an action, an occurrence, a state of being. So there are three things here which you can express. Okay, so it can be an action, it can be an occurrence, or it can be a state of being. So the simple example for this is, so look at here, action. She runs fast. Who is running fast? She is running fast. Okay, so this runs is basically an action. Occurrence, so it happened suddenly. So happened here is a occurrence. So here in this case, this happened is a verb here. State, he is happy. So he is in a state, happy state. Okay, so this happy is basically an action, but this happened, happy, runs, all these things are actions, these verbs here. So but the verbs can be categorized into three categories. They are action, occurrence, and state here. Okay, so now look at this types of verbs here. So the verbs can be basically categorized into several categories. So that several categories, so which we'll be looking at into a point here. But the verbs basically can be categorized into two forms. Okay, that is a main verbs in the sense that it is a lexical verbs, and auxiliary verbs. So auxiliary verbs generally is other name for auxiliary verbs are helping verbs. So in this helping verbs are also you have this as a different categories, like two categories here. That is a primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. So what is the basic difference here? So we will look at these types of verbs much in detail here in this class. Okay, because this is a very simple verb topic, but verb as a person, verb as a number, then how it is going to apply in tenses, all those things we'll discuss in the coming up videos. But in this video, what we are going to do is we are going to look at these concepts here. That is a main verbs. Okay, lexical. Then we'll be looking at auxiliaries. Then we look at so some varieties. So even in these main verbs, how the main verbs are categorized. Okay, so that is a transitive and intransitive. Likewise, we have several categories, right? So finite, infinite. Okay, so non-finite. Then there is an infinite verb and there is a non-finite verb. So please do not confuse with that. Then regular and irregular. So likewise, we have several categories here. Okay, yeah, we will look at into everything in detail. So coming to the first point here, that is a main verbs, that is lexical verbs. Okay, so what do you mean by this main verbs, which is a lexical verbs? So these main verbs, what they do is basically they carry the real meaning or the main meaning in a sentence. So that is a main point here. Means they actually convey what the subject is actually performing or what the subject is doing. Okay, so for example, look at here, they write daily. Here they all write daily. Okay, so she loves you, she loves you. Okay, so here who is loving? She loves you. Who loves you? She loves you. Okay, so likewise you can write like this. Okay, so he thinks everyone Who tricks everyone? He tricks everyone. So you can make some sentences which are in this format. Okay. So these are all called as a main verbs, or you can call it as a lexical verbs. So what I mean by this is, these are the actions. Okay. These are the actions that are performed. So you can call it as an action, occurrence, or state of being. So all these three categories comes under this categories. Okay. Then here you need to understand the format here, that is called as an auxiliary verbs, which are called as helping verbs. So these auxiliary verbs generally helps the main verbs. So here look at the sentence here. So this helps the main verbs. Okay. This helps the main verbs to form tenses, question tags, negative sentences, voices. Yeah, you can write. Okay. So to form a tenses, questions, negative voices, tense, negatives, voices, moods also. Yeah, moods. So all these things you can use with the help of a auxiliary verbs. So basically auxiliary verbs generally we can call it as a helping verbs. So that's a very good way of calling these verbs. Okay, they are called as a helping verbs. Now these helping verbs are also two categories. They are primary auxiliaries. You have one here. So they are called primary auxiliaries, the first variety. Then you have the second category, that is called as a modal auxiliaries. This is the second category. There are two categories here: primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries here. Okay. So in a primary auxiliaries, so these be, have, do comes under a category of a primary auxiliaries. In a modal category, so all these things like can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must, ought, to, need, dare, used to. So most of the time, generally, this word and this word generally people do not use, but it is there in the grammar. Okay. So ought means what you are thinking. So what is your expression? So I ought to believe that this guy is a good guy. Okay. So what I mean by that is, so I urge to have a cup of tea. So what do you mean by this? So means I would like to have tea. Okay. So means I think. So instead of saying I think I'll have tea, so I'll say I ought to have the cup of tea. Okay. Means yeah. Okay. Fine. So yeah. So like this, these words are there here. Okay. So rest of the words generally you might have come across. Be is a primary verb here. So for a be verb, generally the conjugations are am, is, or, was, were, be, being, been. So for have, the conjugations are have, has, had. Okay. For do, the conjugations are do, does, did. Okay. Do, did, does. So here for modals here, so these are basically the main difference between primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries are here. So basically the modal auxiliaries are basically used to express the mood or possibility. So for what is a possibility? So for one example, I'll let you know. For example, whenever you use a sentence must in a sentence, means you have to do it compulsory, 100%. There is no other way. Okay. So I must do this job. Means you don't have any other option. When you say I must do this job, means you have to compulsorily do this job. There is no other option for you. Okay. Or else somebody, generally your parents will say, so you must cook the food today. Means you have no other option. You have to cook the food today for the rest of the home people. Okay. So likewise all these things. Okay. So must. So what is the possibility or expresses the mood? Okay. So these are generally the basic things regarding to modal auxiliaries. So this comes under a category of auxiliary verbs. That in that auxiliary also primary and modal. Then there are several categories in the verbs. So if you look at any test book, or else you can look at any materials which you come across, So the verbs generally categorized into several categories. So the best thing that what I have done is I have taken some gist out of all the things, like small topic here. So how I have categorized, and then I have put it everything in the slides here so that you can actually have a look at, and then we will look at the, when you come across this video, so you have a look at all the varieties that discussion is here, so that you will not feel something left behind. Okay, so for this let us look at these points here one by one. So transitive and intransitive. So what is the basic difference between transitive and intransitive? So the difference between transitive and intransitive is here, whenever in a transitive the subject is performing an action directly on the object. What is that? What is that is here, I love you. Okay, so you is an object, I is a subject, here. Okay, so here the love is basically verb. Okay, so here this verb is taking an action on the object. So if it does like that, then it is called as a transitive verb. The same verb, look at here, I love myself. So what happened now? So this myself is basically object, this is subject, this is the object. But look at here, the subject and the object, there is no any difference. Okay, so what happened is here, the action has been performed back onto the subject itself. Okay, so that time we can call this one as a intransitive verb, or else you can call it as a, if the object does not take a direct action, or it does, so whatever the action that is performed, it does not take a direct action on the object, so then that is called as a indirect, we can call it as a intransitive verb. So this is the one category here. Okay, transitive and intransitive. So this is very simple. So I have given a very simple example to remember. So but mostly this is a bit technical here. So look at examples. You can remember this example for in an easy way to remember in an exam. But look at the examples here. Okay, he plays the guitar. So he is the subject, guitar is the object, okay, so plays is the verb here. Okay, so this is a subject verb object agreement has been conveyed here. The same thing, look at here, he sleeps well, he sleeps well. So this well is basically the description, like it's like an adjective. Okay, so he sleeps well. Okay, so what is actually happening here? So means he runs fast. How did he do? So he is basically performing an action. So this, the way he is performing the verb, so that is what description here. Okay, so in these cases what happened here, so this is basically an adverb here. So in such cases what happens is the action is not directly performed on the object. So we are actually explaining how the subject is doing that respect to action. So that cases this verb becomes a intransitive. So that's the reason why we can have this example here. Okay, so here the object is basically the same person itself. So that's the reason why directly it is not applied on the object. Okay, so that's a very simple way to remember. So what is the difference here? Transitive and intransitive. In a transitive, the verb takes direct action on the object, but in a intransitive, the verb does not take a direct action on the object. So that's a simple sentence. Okay. Now the next one is finite and non-finite. So in case of finite and non-finite, here when you look at the finite, whenever there is a change according to the subject or tense, then the finite verbs are used. Okay. So what do you mean by finite? Whenever there is the change according to the subject or tenses, that will be. So for example, look at here. She goes to the school, they go to the school. I have given some previous class also in the previous video, some examples like this in a pronoun. So look at that example here if possible. I'm going to write it again. Okay. If it is a singular, first person, I, second person, you, third person, he, she, it. Okay. And in case of plural, first person, we, second person, you, third person, they. Okay. So for all these cases, have a look at here. I go to school. Go to the school. Okay. So you go to the, so it comes same thing. Okay. There is no any change. It comes same thing for all these things. Okay. So the only change here you can observe here is that in the so there is no any change here for all the respective things. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The only difference you can observe here is he, she, it. So that is he goes to the school. So there is, we can use the same thing here. No change here, anything. He goes to the school. She goes to the school, like this. Okay. So you have to remember, whenever there is a singular third person, then you have to mind about the verb. Okay. So here, that's the only difference you can actually have a look at here. Okay. Third person, singular. Third person, singular. So I think we no need to use this one. Third person, singular. Okay. So there, the difference you can observe. Look at here now. In a finite verbs, what is the definition? Changes the verbs according to the subject or according to the tense. Okay. This is basically according to the subject. So here the subject is I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Okay. So based upon the subject, the verb changes. Then based upon a tense. Okay. So I am going to the school. I am go in school. Okay. So here for go, I have given ing. Okay. So if it is a tense also, generally it will change. So such type of verbs are called as a finite verbs. Then what is a non-finite? So non-finite verbs are verbs generally, they do not change with the subject. They do not change with the subject or tense. So why they do not change with the tense? Because here the non-finite verbs are some three categories. Okay, they are called as a infinitives, gerunds, and participles. So here, what do you mean by infinitive? So we'll discuss that what is the infinitive, everything in a separate video. But in this case, in case of a verb, here we are going to discuss a very simple definition here. So finites are generally for any base verb, if we add to in the front, this two in the front, then this becomes a infinite. Infinite means I am going to eat. I am going to eat. So here to is added before the verb eat here. So as a result, what happens is this becomes a infinitive, means you have not started it, but you have not completed the task also. Okay, so this task is an incomplete task, and then it will complete, you are going to complete it, but right now it is a stagnant point. Okay, it has been stopped, so it is going to start now, and then it will take for a while, and then it is going to get finished. You don't know what is the time that is going to get finished. Okay, you can't say I will finish it, so I'm going to eat and then I will finish it by 15 minutes. So like that, so there is no case like that. Okay, you will not, when you start eating, it is not necessary that compulsory you need less than 5 minutes, less than 10 minutes, or exactly 5 minutes. So there is no time bound for that. So hence in such cases we will use this to in front of the base verb. To in front of a base verb. So you can take any base form and then use it. So that's one category. The next one is gerunds. So for any verb, generally if you add a ing to that respective base verb, then this becomes, or to the noun or anything. Okay, so this becomes a gerunds. Okay, so not only this nouns, we can use it for the anything. So for example here, eating is fun. Okay, so to the verb, what we have done, we have added ing in the front. Ing in the front. So totally this verb became noun. This verb became noun here. Okay, so noun is a subject. So is a verb. Fun is basically this, now this is going to be verb here, but it here going to act like a object here. Okay, so subject verb object agreement. Okay, it has happened. Okay, so anyway, so this is one category. Okay, so this is basically here now is going to act like a intransitive here. So but anyway, so this is a separate case here. We'll discuss that later. Now the next category is called as a participles. So what do you mean by participles? So participles are verb form that are used to, which used as an adjective. So what is the verb form that are used for as an adjective is sometimes the verb itself to specify the action, one single word is not enough. So in such case, what we do is we'll use some verbs to take advantage of that. So that is the one here. Okay, so look at here, present participle and past participle here. So here some example here. Okay, running water. So here run is basically a verb. We have added ing water. Okay, so for this we have taken a verb and then we have added ing, and then we use this like an adjective to the noun here. Okay, so water is a noun. For this run is a verb here, and we have added ing so to the noun. Now this becomes okay. So like a broken glass. So broken, break is a verb. For this we have added en at the end, and then changed the break, broke, and then we added this as an adjective to the noun here. So like this, some simple example. Okay. So if you look at the categories, the next category is regular verb and irregular verb. So what is the difference between a regular verb and irregular verb? So in a regular verb, this forms based upon past tense by adding ed. So this is just normal general verbs. Okay, work, worked, play, played, run. So not run. So likewise, you can, if you are able to add ed at the end, then this becomes a regular verb. Then what is the difference between a regular and irregular is, so irregular verb is something where they do not follow standard rules of verb conjugations. Okay, so what are the standard rules? So standard rules are like this, so like by adding ed at the end, so like there several categories, several examples are there. So like that, the examples here, it do not follow. So then what do they follow? Irregular verbs. Irregular verbs, what they do is they take entirely different word or change one or two sentences from its base verbs. Okay, so you can see here go, went, gone. So here go is a verb, and then went is entirely different word, and then gone is we have added extra ne at the end here. Okay, so this is not going to be, this rule is not going to apply for every verbs there. Okay, so for this rule is this change of the words is only for this respective verb go. So such verbs are called as irregular verbs, and they do not follow a certain rules. Then you have here causative verbs. So causative verbs, generally what they do is they are used to show some causes or something to happen. So what are those happen? Okay, for the main examples are here make, have, get, let, like this. For example, look at here, I had my car washed. Okay, I had my car washed. So he made me cry. Make, made. Okay, he made me cry, like this. Then sometimes these verbs also changes based upon tenses. They are based upon tense forms. So we know the tense. So we'll discuss the tense in much detail. But in this verb topic, so we are going to look at only the verb changes here. Okay, so we know that so there are three types of tenses. That is the present tense, past tense, and a future tense. Okay, so in the present tense, past tense, and future tense, look at a simple example here, which is something like play. Okay, we are going to use a verb play here. Okay, he plays. So this is for he. Okay, so for he, this becomes a yes. Here we are going to add yes. Okay, so verb is a play. So because it's a third person singular, so yes is added at the front even for a simple present. So I play. I play cricket. He plays cricket. It is in a simple present. So in a present continuous, he is playing. So we have added a is verb, and also we have added ing at the end. Present perfect, he has ed at the end. Okay, in a present perfect continuous tense, he has been plus ing is added at the front. You can look at the difference here. So in a tense differences itself, here we have different categories. Okay, simple present, you can take the verb as such. If it is a here I play cricket, we play cricket, all those things, you can take the verb as base root verb itself. But if here in this case we have taken third person singular, so we have to add yes at the front. Okay, he plays cricket. Then present continuous, he is playing cricket, so we are going to add auxiliary verb here and also ing at the end. Okay, so because it's a continuous, you are going to add ing. Then present perfect, so you have to add ed, and also you have to add has here. Okay, that for is he has, so for this we have to add has here. Okay, so in case of present perfect continuous, he has been playing. Okay, likewise look at this one. So past, in the case of past tense, so he played. He played, then he was playing. Then in a past perfect tense, he had played. Okay, in a past continuous, he was playing. In a past perfect continuous, he had been playing. Okay, so we have to add this extra thing for the to make a tense come into right form. Then coming to this future tense, he will play. So we have to use compulsory extra word here, that is will. He will play. In a future continuous, he will be playing. Okay, in a future perfect tense, he will have played. In future perfect continuous tense, he will have been played. He will have been playing. He will have been playing. So these are the varieties here. So this is for the second person, sorry, first person, singular, third person. Okay. So this conjugation is for singular, third person, but it will all these things will vary. Okay. Then the next one is how this verb is used in voices. So in active voice and passive voice. If it is active voice, so the subject performs the action. Okay, so that is a teacher explains the topic. So here, look at here, the subject is actually doing the work. Okay, teacher is explaining. Whereas in a passive voice, the subject is receiving the action. Okay, so this topic is explained by the teacher. Okay, here what happened here? So the subject became an object and the object became the subject here. Okay, so that's why. So just we have a look at here. So this is the object. Okay, so this is the verb and the teacher is the subject. Okay, now the topic is the subject. Explained is a verb and the teacher is going to be the object here. Okay, and we have used by for the conversion of this voice into this passive into voice, active into voice. The next one, mood. In case of mood, there are three types of moods: indicative mood, imperative mood, and subject mood. So what is the indicative mood? Is it states the fact. Okay, so she works hard, like this. Okay, whichever the facts are there, so that sentences generally we state it in a in a indicative mood. So if you want to command something, that we state it in a imperative mood. Generally you want to wish or you are something like doubts or unreal something, that we give in a subjective mood. So here look at here, in case of indicative mood, I'm going to, so this is a very simple topic here. Okay, so in case of mood, works, she works hard, I work hard. Okay, like this. So that's a simple, so it's some basic facts. Whereas in the imperative mode, sit down. Okay, sit. We are giving a command. Okay, sit down. In subjunctive mode, so if I were rich, this complete is a wish. Okay, if I were rich is a complete wish. Okay, so in that case also, rich is basically that whatever the state of being that you are going to. And the next one is phrasal verbs. So the verbs also can take into a phrasal verb formation. So what is basically phrasal verbs? So normally, if we look at a verb, verb is an action. Okay, then if we look at a preposition, we can say preposition is a joined word, joining word. Okay, one word, if you want to join one word or that. Okay, preposition. Okay, so what is the relationship between one word to the other word? Okay, so you can write that relationship between one to another. Okay, so this verb preposition, okay, and so it's not only the adverb, okay, not only adverb. So adverb is a word which qualifies the verb, okay? And let's look at this one, only this two. Verb plus preposition generally forms a phrasal verbs. So what happens with this phrasal verbs? So this action plus joining words. So if you combine these two, generally they form a entirely different meaning. Entirely entirely a different meaning. So what is that entirely different meaning is, look at here, simple down, break down, okay, break is a verb and down is a preposition. So combination of these two, verb plus preposition combination, is going to give us a different meaning, okay. So either you are breaking down, so something like you are going to break some glass or something. So down is basically sit down, or what we use down. So down is in the sense the lower bottom, okay. So either the glass has been broken down and then fallen down, something like that, okay. So now combination of these two is going to give us it stopped working. So basically something has been broken and then it is not working, okay. So that meaning is basically is giving us a stopped working, okay. So you cannot take exactly as a dictionary words into picture and then say that is a word, okay. So it's basically, it does not straight away signify what is actually the meaning here, but it only conveys what is in a other format, okay. So indirectly it gives you the answer, or indirectly it conveys the meaning. What is this action and what is this joining word will convey, that will give you a different meaning here, okay. So that's the reason why we cannot take a direct this. So whenever you are using this phrasal verbs, so be careful in mind. And then so this but actually you can what are the action and what are the relation words that you are going to use in between, so verbs and preposition, so it gives a meaning, but that meaning is not exactly like individual meanings. So so that's the reason why I have written entirely different meaning. So look at one example here, okay. Look after. So look after in the sense, so when you look and after, what is the meaning of that? So look after, so means after some time you just look at, it's not like that, okay. So look after in the sense, actual meaning is take, so I will say look after your children, look after your sister, look after your parents, means please take care of your parents, please take care of your sister, please take care of your children. So likewise the meaning will convey here, okay. So that is the phrasal verbs. So this is one point here. Then stative or dynamic verbs. In a stative or dynamic verbs, the stative verbs generally describes the state that is being there, okay. So in which state they are there. So I know, I love, believe, I believe in you, something, okay. Whereas the dynamic verbs generally they show the action. They show the actual action here, okay. So what are the actual actions here? Run, jump, eat, so fall, all those respective actions, okay. So these are the stative and dynamic verbs. Then we have verb patterns. So verb patterns, this we can call this verb patterns like this, or else. Yeah, okay. So verb patterns. So in case of verb patterns, some verb patterns here generally they can take it takes a gerund or it takes a infinitive. So if it takes a gerund, what we do is we would take a verb and then we would add ing at the end. So this would result avoid going, enjoy doing, like this. Okay, so what does this do? So any gerund, okay, any gerund, generally when you are using it, so what happens is it becomes, so if you add ing at the end, this becomes a noun. Okay, whereas in the case of infinitive, what we do is we would add a to at the front of a verb, so this becomes a noun. Okay, at the front. Okay, so these are the patterns. So this is the one verb patterns which you have to remember. And so for example here, both will convey the same meaning. Okay, they are not going to change. So look at one example here. So remember to lock the door, remember locking the door. Okay, so both are same meaning. Okay, locking the door is basically a gerund, to lock the door is an action, so which is the infinitive form. Okay, so you have not locked the door wrong, but you are going to do it, something like that. Okay, so likewise yeah, subject verb agreement. So subject verb agreement with a number and a subject. So this generally we'll look at in much in detail. So the only thing generally what they say is so if it is a singular and if it is a plural. In a singular and plural, what is the first person, what is the second person, what is the third person? Okay, so the only difference you get is, for example here, so verb generally I dance, you dance, she or he dances. So in a plural, we dance, you dance, they dance. So there is no any difference. Okay, only the in a singular third person here itself the verb change will take place. So that agreement you must maintain. Okay, so that subject verb agreement you must maintain. That's what they're saying in this end. Okay, so you have to do that. Please be mindful about it. And this verbs in a verbal form. So how many verbal forms are there? So if you look at this based upon a functionality, so this looks based upon functionality. Okay, they are entirely different. If it is a gerund, generally we have discussed the gerund. Okay, so we have to take a verb and then add ing at the front or the end here, so this becomes a noun. Okay, if it's an infinitive, add to plus ing to the verb, add to plus verb, it becomes a noun again. Okay, so now for in a participles, so what is the participle is you have to take a verb and then that this verb itself will act like a adjective here. Okay, so here what you are doing in case of a participles, so best example we have a look at the previous case where we have discussed the participle itself, so that you will not get a confusion here. In case of participles, okay, so look at here, running water, so broken glass. Okay, here broken glass, so break is a verb, so but you have added that past participle of that respective word to the noun, so it becomes a participle. So this is called as a participles. So same here also you can add. Okay, participles, so broken vase, from the root word is break, broke, broken. Okay, so base verb, then V2 form, then this is a V3 form. Okay, then there is another verb form that is called as a V4. We don't call that as a V4, but most people do. So that is a B plus ing, generally people call that as V4. Okay, so that is one form. Breaking, V4 form. Okay, so here past part, so present, past participle, and then ing. Okay, so in the past participle, okay, present, past, past participle, okay, then continuous tense, okay. So you take the past participle and then add in front of any noun, this becomes an adjective. So that's all. So vase is basically the noun here. So for the noun you are going to add this past participle, so this becomes this participle, okay. So this act like a adjective. So that's the meaning of that. So this is just the not much details here. So this is just an introduction. You can call this video as an introduction, okay, simple introduction. So what is a simple introduction is? So a verb is a word that expresses an action, an occurrence, or a state of being. So these are the three things generally you can call it as a verb. So if a word performs these three actions, then we can call this as a verb, okay. What do you mean by all this most of the details here, okay. So you can look at here that we have seen that you can say the types here, okay. So the types like main verbs, auxiliary verbs, okay, and then we have looked at into different varieties. We have gone through transitive, then we have gone through finite and non-finite. So likewise we have gone totally several categories, like 10 varieties or 11 varieties we have gone here, okay. So if you look at this, all these things comes under the same category called as a verb. So the way is basically how you are going to establish it, how you are going to classify it doesn't matter, but the gist of the subject is basically a verb is a word which is used for an action or a state or an occurrence. So these three things are the actual definition of a verb. So with this concept, the concept of a verb is over here, okay. So this is basically, you can call this video as a simple definition that we have discussed here. So we are going to discuss the verb, the same topic verb in a much detailed form. Their subject, verb with a person, verb with a number, and then we'll be looking at, so we have to look at verb in active voice and a passive voice. Then also we have to look at the verb in tenses, okay, how the verb will change in the tenses form, and how the verb changes in a active voice and passive voice. Then how this verb is basically used in as a verb as a person, verb as a verb in with a, how this numbering, so within the number, how the agreement is there, with the verb agreement is there, okay. So all those things we have to discuss in detail. Now considering all those points in mind, so you can call this video as a video 1, okay, verb video 1. So that is a detail of this, the concept of verb. I hope you enjoyed the video, and then please do subscribe and share this YouTube channel, and then we'll meet again with the more topics. Till then, bye.